There are many people who ponder the question as to why some Bigfoot encounters are peaceful and some seem aggressive or are violent. The general consensus is that it boils down to there being good and bad Bigfoot, just like there are good and bad people. Instead of devoting more time to research, it is easier to utilize a human animal comparison and alleviate the cognitive dissonance that the question brings into the human psyche. As I have previously stated, the answers being provided are not the only possibilities to the questions that we have about these beings. It is the goal of this article to share those possibilities so that you can form your own opinion. Some may not like the content of this article because it will challenge their present state of mind and way of thinking while destroying the willfully ignorant words of many so called experts. My condolence would be to encourage everyone who reads this article to be perceptive and to begin thinking for themselves instead of following those who would lead them around in exercise of their own personal agenda. Only you can set yourself free by changing your own paradigm. Some time back, I was invited to be a guest on Sean Whittington's radio show, Vegas Supernatural. I am grateful that I was extended the opportunity to speak with Sean and Sharon Day during the interview. It gave me the chance to speak about some of my preliminary ideas, but I wasn't aware at the time of the interview that those ideas would change and form into a more solidified understanding. During the interview, I spoke about the possibility that Bigfoot could be able to perceive things about a person that would determine the outcome of an encounter. I used the example of a person who is living a good life, being grateful, helping others, treating others how they would like to be treated, versus someone who is a serial killer, child molester, rapist, and generally a bad person encountering one of these creatures. At the time, I thought that it was possible that those things could somehow be perceived by the Bigfoot, and their response would be based on that perception during the encounter. In an effort to find some correlation, I polled several individuals who have high psychic acuity, and the result was mixed. Some related that they could perceive these things while others couldn't. Some related that a person's aura was affected by these things while others couldn't make no determination from a person's aura. I was only partly right in making the assumption that these things could be seen in someone's aura, if partly right at all. Granted, this could be directly linked to the level of ability held by the psychic person and could reflect on the outcome of the inquiry. I began to look for more possible explanations for the questions I had regarding this concept. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. A quote by Nikola Tesla. I knew that somehow the words of Nikola Tesla would lead me to an understanding of what could be taking place. I'll admit that I was not prepared for the series of events that has unfolded since coming into these possible explanations. I was also not prepared for the places that my research has taken me. Coming to the understanding that I have with this subject is something that has been positive, and hopefully you can take something positive from it as well. From time to time, I need a little motivation, and occasionally I watch YouTube videos that are motivational in nature. One day I came across a video that sounded like it might be a good fit for my day, and I began to watch. An older gentleman was speaking to a group of people about how to change their lives for the better. I'm always open to the idea of making life better and gave the video all of my attention. I didn't know who this man was or anything about him. Nonetheless, something clicked in my mind as I was listening to him speak, and that led me on a journey that was not planned but much appreciated. The man's name is Bob Proctor, and he is an icon in the realm of life improvement teaching. I began to listen and watch more of his videos. I found out that he has his own YouTube channel with a vast entourage of videos that can help you improve your life. The catch is that you have to want to improve upon that which you already have. I know. What does this have to do with good versus bad Bigfoot encounters? Bear with me and I'll get there soon enough. We are all familiar with the idea that somehow we create our own reality. Many believe this to be the result of decisions, circumstances, motivation, or the lack thereof. I never really understood how this all worked until it was explained by Mr. Proctor. 95% of our reality is created at the subconscious level, and we often are unaware that we are doing this, and it is the direct result of our subconscious programming. We are subjected to the reality that is ingrained in our subconscious mind, which is creating our reality all of the time. This happens as we take in energy and change it into vibrating thought energy, and we do this at the subconscious level without even thinking about it. In essence, we are creating a reality on a form of autopilot. We can change this subconscious programming, but for the most part it is ingrained in us when we were children between birth and the age of 8. During that time, we are absorbing information about everything we come into contact with, and our whole lives are influenced by our experiences during that time. What we experience and the things we are told go directly into our subconscious mind and reside there as a roadmap to how we process everything after it goes there. It is essentially the programming that we default to as we begin to create our reality and progress through life. It is safe to say that Bigfoot probably does not have the same reality creation ability that we do, because if they did, there would be evident creations made by these beings that we would see during encounters. They may only have limited ability that is directly linked to their survival and primal instincts that allow them to do some things that we do not understand. We have all heard the term infrasound. Some researchers make this sound like a cure-all, an explanation for everything that happens of a strange nature when encountering a Bigfoot. In the past, I made those same assumptions due to limited information and pure ignorance, but there is another alternative answer. We know that infrasound is actually two separate sounds that are within several hertz of each other. These sounds are so close together that they audibly cancel out, which is why we can't hear them, but are far apart enough that they deliver the intended result to the recipient of the sound. What if Bigfoot is able to couple thought vibration with sound? What if they have limited reality creation ability and are coupling that with sound? While it is possible for infrasound to make a person hallucinate, it makes more sense to me that if a Bigfoot can put out the thought that it is a deer and couple that with sound, it could make a person perceive a deer instead of seeing the Bigfoot. While this may sound like conjecture and speculation, I want to share that I have actually been able to reproduce this on a small scale in a person-to-person fashion. I believe that it is possible that Bigfoot could be able to perceive the vibrations and frequencies that we are emitting as we are creating our reality. Wait, what? How can a primate do that? If these beings are descended from the Nephilim, they are not 100% primate. They are not 100% derived from any being, but the conglomeration of possibly multiple species. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't retain some degree of Nephilim DNA and possible epigenetic traits. In any event, the way that they perceive our creation of reality could be a factor in how an encounter turns out. That's not even considering the possibility that they could be the giants spoken of in the book of Revelation. If that is the case, it is important to note that it is mentioned that the elect will be spared having to deal with the giants. But those who choose to deny God will be subjected to torment by these beings. How are these beings going to know who is who? It makes sense that they could be able to perceive the reality that a person is subconsciously creating. This could also be an explanation why so many people report that these creatures watch or observe them for extended periods of time. Peering through windows, observing from ridge lines, and watching from densely wooded areas tend to be the status quo when these beings want to watch people. There also seems to be a trend where Bigfoot tends to hang around people's tents while they are sleeping. Some deduce this is the sole result of wanting to raid the foodstuffs while the person is sleeping, and that could be the case. The interesting thing is that when you ask people who have had these experiences, most report that the creature either touched their head or was standing near where their head was inside the tent. When you come into the understanding that a person's mind is actively creating reality at a higher rate, shortly after exiting the theta state into the delta state, it makes sense that a Bigfoot would hang around to observe what's being created. Knowing that we don't know what a Bigfoot can see, it may be something as simple as them being intrigued by a light show that is being emitted by us during this time. This also could be a factor in why so many children have encounters with these beings. A child's mind operates in the theta state most of the time until around the age of 8. Around the age of 6 is when a child's mind begins to form links between conscious thinking and the subconscious mind as alpha waves begin to express themselves in the child's brain. Is there something taking place during this time that makes a child more susceptible to encountering or attracting one of these beings? Could this also be why these creatures are drawn to people with autism? It is possible that there could be a link due to the correlation between brain development and that autistic people have their own set of mental superpowers that makes them highly unique and amazing. Many autistic people have incredible memories, and their power of visualization surpasses that of a normal person. It stands to reason that these attributes could make the reality creation process a more grand event than would be observed in a normal person. Granted, this is a very interesting concept as a whole, and is a possible explanation for some of the things that researchers question. But there are other possible factors as well. Another possible explanation for the good versus bad encounter scenario hinges solely on exploring the concept that a Bigfoot's DNA may make it more susceptible to control by true Nephilim spirits. The Great Flood narrative in the Bible relates that the Nephilim giants were killed as a result of the flood. The Nephilim are an abomination and cursed by God. Their spirits are earthbound and are to roam the earth. Some biblical researchers relate that these spirits are known as the Rephaim, but no one is really sure. I have heard many biblical researchers relate that the Nephilim spirits are currently known as demons. And if that is the case, it could be that they would utilize any opportunity to exercise their hatred for mankind. If Bigfoot is descended from the Nephilim, would them having a percentage of that DNA make them more prone to possession by Nephilim spirits? If that is the explanation, it is supported by the reports by people who relate that the encounter started out calm and peaceful, and then all of a sudden went in a bad direction for no obvious reason. Another factor to include is the relation of the events that were taking place just prior to the flood. The Nephilim giants were killing and eating humans, and had a propensity to drink human blood. Throughout history, there are indigenous histories related that contain accounts of Bigfoot creatures abducting, killing, and eating women and children. This falls in line with what the Nephilim did during biblical times. While there is no easy way to test this idea, it makes a good possible explanation for why some encounters are good and some are bad. In conclusion, we have looked at some possible reasons why some encounters are good and some are bad. These ideas may not be the solution to the mystery, but they hold enough merit to be explored. It is my hope that everyone will do more research and find their own answers to these questions and gain a greater understanding about what it is that we are dealing with in these creatures.